lecture cycle. We're very pleased everyone could join us today for the landscape above, design, implementation, and maintenance of green roofs. If you haven't signed in, there's CEU credit signing in up front. We can catch up with you after if need be. We'll be doing 2 presentations and then a break, and if you could hold questions to the end of each presentation, that'd be great. There should be plenty of time with the way time's budgeted out today. We want to thank first our sponsor, Deeproot, and Al Key of Deeproot. They manufacture and design the Silva-Cell system, if you're unfamiliar with that, for tree protection and tree growth under structure, common like sidewalk application. If you haven't seen a Silva-Cell, please check out Deeproot for their sponsorship today, and thanks to Inova for supporting this event as well. So we're going to bring up our first speaker here in a second. So continuing education credits are official language we have to get through. This is a registered program with LACES through New York chapter of the American Society of Landscape Architects. The credits will be available after. So brief introduction. Again, thanking our event sponsors, Deeproot and Inova today for their generous support. Again, here's that Silva-Cell if you haven't seen that type of application. Al's a great resource, but couldn't be with us today, so please look him up after. This is me. We don't need to look at that for very long. Let's bring up Artie and get started today. We're very pleased and honored to have Assistant Commissioner of Citywide Services, Artie Rollins, with us today. Artie is a passionate leader that drives change in the greenest agency in New York City Parks. His office is located at the home of one of the most unique green roofs in the city, where global leaders admire and replicate on Randall's Island, like a test setup where there's multiple different green roofs of different styles and designs available for study. His background's in the green industry that he began at a young age working as a developer. He saw the benefit embracing sustainable practices in construction and joined Parks in 1995. Artie demonstrated a keen eye for cost savings and improvement. He is currently the Assistant Commissioner of Citywide Services at New York City Parks. In this capacity, he sees over 300 staff members serving New York City pools, trade shops, engineers, capital requirement contracts, and the 4 main areas therein of sustainability, education, retrofits, and preventative maintenance, and measurements and verification. Artie most notably started the installation of Parks Department's first green roof and its white roof program in 2007, and he attended the New York Institute of Technology earning a bachelor's degree of mechanical engineering. And thank you very much, Artie. Let's give him a round of applause for joining us today. I think we should be good to go.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so I'm going to go through the PowerPoint, but briefly I'll tell you what I learned about green roofs. So green roofs are very easy to install. We've done hundreds and hundreds of tours at our facility. If you haven't been there, I recommend you reach out to us and we'll give you a tour. We basically just recently maxed out our roof space. So we had a couple of little odds and ends to fill in, and we literally took a couple of layers of a water absorption mat and put AstroTurf down, which looks kind of cool, and it's a good fill-in. So green roofs are simple. They're very simple. If you know about green roofs, just stand by for a couple seconds, and I'll just go over it very quickly. So you want to find a roof that's in decent condition. You don't want to put a green roof on an old roof. You want to make sure that you put down a roof barrier. You want to isolate your system from the roof. On top of that, you want to put down a drainage mat or drainage level, a layer. There's a couple different ones. When we first started, there was it's an upside down milk carton type material with a fabric on top, and little cups that would hold water. Now they're using some type of a carpet padding type material, that absorbs a half an inch or an inch of water, which is great. But it's called a drainage mat, even though it kind of retains water. It kind of holds a certain amount of water and then it lets the water percolate through. This fleece level is just what I discussed. It's kind of like a carpet padding type material. And then on top of that, you put a growth medium. So the trick to green roofs is that you don't take a cubic foot of dirt from the ground and bring it up there. That's what non-green roof people think you're going to do, and they panic when you say you're going to put dirt on their roof. The whole trick with green roofs is that it's a super lightweight growth medium. So one product we did use is a styrofoam that's kind of expanded. So you can imagine how light styrofoam is. You can imagine once you start expanding it. And then what you do is you mix it with like 20% organic material. Another product is expanded shale, slate, and clay. So shale, slate, and clay is kind of heavy. But once it's expanded, it's super light and it has a lot of capillary action. So expanded shale, slate, and clay is a byproduct of lightweight concrete. So it's readily available out there. So that's kind of like the inert material that goes into the soil. And then you mix in like 20% compost. So it's different than the soil you guys would have at ground level. You kind of don't have that type of inert material at ground level and mixed with 20% organic material. And what we've noticed with the natives we're growing and with the sedum we're growing is that the plants grow like crazy. We have the same exact natives at ground level as we have on a green roof, and under the same exact conditions, with the exception of elevation, the natives on the green roof grow really rapidly. They flourish like crazy, and it's amazing. So there is the growth medium, you know, I would kind of call it organic as compared to ground level. And also ground level, you have hundreds of years worth of toxins and heavy metals in that, which the natives and sedum are kind of fighting at ground level. You don't have that up on a green roof. So the plants really flourish. This is an idea of why we have to get green roofs in. These are areas that are going to flood, have flood, and will flood. And what's cool is that the green roofs, if you put green roofs on all the flat roofs buildings in the city, all that extra water won't be surging back into the ocean and backing up to cause flooding. What's also great is that the cities come out with a lot of local laws that'll help support green roofs. Recently, they came out with a local law that if you put a new roof on, you have to either vet it for a green roof, solar, or solar green roofs, which is great. So you have local laws that are helping us get green roofs out there. There are ways that, you know, architects can avoid that by not filing the roof. So let's say they just kind of like replace the top layer or just throw another layer of roofing on top, but they're kind of skirting the issue because even that, if you get a roofer to throw a roof in, it's going to cost you hundreds and hundreds of dollars per square foot to install a new roof. Just to put, and then compared to the cost of a green roof, which could potentially, for a contractor, could be anywhere between $10 to $15, it doesn't make sense to try to skirt the issue and not put a green roof on when you're putting a roof. We began our projects in 2007. The building I'm at has over 45 unique different systems, and it sounds a little crazy, but it's not, because there are that many applications. So the first thing you want to do when you look for a green roof is you want to have an engineer or architect tell you, can you be on the roof? That's the first thing. Once you establish you could be on the roof, you want the engineer or architect to tell you how much weight you can put on the roof. Now, at that point, you got to decide, what do you want to get out of it? Do you want to just do stormwater sequestering and help with DEP, with their sewage overflow? Or do you want to insulate the building? Or do you want to work on your heat island effect? Do you want to create a biosphere? Do you want to just make it aesthetics for the people in the building? So that's kind of what you want. That's the second round of questions you want to ask. So you want to get an engineer or architect to say, can you be up there? What can it hold? And then at that point, you want to say, what do you want to get out of it? And the reason I'm saying that is because a lot of people want to get different things out of it. So we're up on Randall's Island, right across the street, 125th Street. There's a lot of high-rise buildings, a lot of very, very expensive condominiums over there now. People don't want to walk their dogs out at 3 o'clock in the morning out on the streets in that neighborhood. So some people, condo owners, came to us and asked us, can they put a green roof on their roof so their dogs don't have to go to street level, they can actually go up on the roof. So it kind of a little crazy, so I didn't want to really touch it too much. But we introduced them to a scientist that's that coordinated with them and came up with a type of plant life growth medium that would accommodate that type of situation. So there's something weird that popped up, which we were able to accommodate them. I'm a cat person, so I'm not really, I could care less where the dogs go. But we host tours. Please reach out to us. You have all of my information. We'll get you to see some tours. So we really pushed in Parks Department. You got to understand, green roofs are new. It's a new thing, and you know I'm an engineer, but I know architects like to introduce new things. And new things always, from my experience, I'm in city government for 28 years, people don't want to deal with new things. So it's kind of difficult to get green roofs going. So literally, the 35 roofs I had to put on, I literally had to like twist people's arms to get this thing moving. So just keep that in mind, because people are really afraid that green roofs will cause leaks, but it's directly the opposite. Most of our storms are 1 inch, few are 2-3 inches. But green roofs in our area are designed to hold 1 inch of water. So 90% of our storms, when the water hits that plant life, which helps dissipate the water, then it goes into the growth medium, which sucks it up, and then it goes to the drainage mat and water absorption mat, which sucks it up, and then it goes to this roof barrier, which never lets the water touch the roof. That 1 inch of water never gets to the roof. It's amazing. So it's kind of like a way you can sell it. However, I've had plenty of incidents in a 3-story building where the toilet in the basement broke and I get a call the green roof's leaking. And that's happened many, many times. So you just got to keep that in mind. That's a problem. We literally, I don't want to embarrass, I got some people from the Parks Department here and I hope they don't go back and say what happened. We literally have an elevator in our building. It goes up 1 story. There's been a steam leak for a couple of years that actually is squirting kind of into the elevator. And they literally removed that section of green roof around the elevator twice until finally, they finally realized, listen, this only happens when the steam kicks in. Why don't we get in the elevator seat? And that was the thing. But they literally moved a couple thousand square feet of green roof twice, had a roof it all, only to find out it was not the green roof causing the leak. So you've got to keep that in mind. This is kind of like for retrofit jobs, which it's gonna be a lot of jobs. I mean, new jobs, it's pretty straightforward. You don't have to worry about that. This spring, we're actually gonna do 3 more. We had an old grant laying around, and we had some money. So if you want to see some installations, reach out to us. We're happy to show you what we do. A couple of the benefits of the green roof is energy savings. So in our building, we kind of have a typical building. It's 75,000 square feet. Half of it is office space, which is heated and cooled. The other half is like a garage, which is only heated. So we saw an amazing increase in energy savings in the building that's heated and cooled, that we literally were able to downsize our air conditioning units in half. So we went to the city, we told the city, we need AC units. We would like to put them in, make them half. We showed them the data because of the green roof was saving that much energy, and the city actually funded us to buy 2 new air conditioning units for our building. The other side was basically impacted by heat island effect in the summer. The mechanics would work in a building, and on a 90-degree day, on a black roof, you'd have a 160-degree heat island effect. And once we put a green roof there, the mechanics actually felt the impact of that green roof. We cooled that side of the building. Couple of big benefit is that you don't have to replace the roof for at least 2-3 cycles, which is an enormous benefit, both savings for the roof and also taking that roof out of the waste stream, which is great. Because the roof is never hit with this big range in sub-zero weather and 160-degree surface temperature. Also, the roof's not bombarded with the elements, so you definitely save that. It obviously insulates. That's a straightforward item. It also deadens sound. We happen to be on Randall's Island, right by the Triborough Bridge. We definitely see that impact. And it also adds to the value of the properties, which is great. So some other benefits is DEP wants to fund green roofs. So if you go to DEP, there's a link that they'll partially fund green roofs for private businesses and commercial businesses. The reason is that it helps them when they have a large rain event over an inch with combined sewer overflow. Also, it helps with carbon sequestering. When that roof was black, there was no carbon sequestering going on there. Now it's green, it is carbon sequestering per square foot on that roof. It increases the air in the area, helps with the heat island effect, like I said, and biodiversity it's amazing. Columbia did a study, they checked the microbial life at ground level on the island. It was some number. They checked the microbial life at the green roof, and it was like 5,000 times more microbial life on the green roof than at ground level. So the plants grow like crazy, the microbial life grows like crazy, it's amazing. So what we do is if we have a roof, what we're doing over, we'll white roof it first. This way it's guaranteed that there's no leakage in the roof. It's a pretty good idea because these white roof companies will give you 5 years warranty on it. Another big benefit, like I mentioned, is stormwater management. DEP loves that, that you can basically get that footprint back. You know, the city, hundreds of years ago was basically a forest. Now it's buildings, so all that stormwater is not being absorbed. Once you put a green roof back on top of these buildings, it could be a forest again, which is pretty cool. Like I mentioned, the energy efficiency of the buildings. Columbia also did a study where with honeybees, and if you're a native bee person and you're insulted by honeybees, please don't be insulted. But there are. I just had to put that out there. So Columbia did a study with creating corridors through Manhattan for honeybees, because honeybees can only go like 5 miles. And if you could create these corridors, they saw a lot more honeybee activity with green roofs. And my roof is really cool. Once in a while, we can't get a native seed mix from our native plant center in Staten Island, so we just order it online. So we get this wild native seed mix. We broadcast it out into this one bed, and every year we get a whole different group of native bees that we never had before. So that's pretty amazing. It's like absolutely insane what you can do. We also have a farm up by us, 5,000 square feet. So farming really works. It's easy to maintain. You don't have rodents. You can control how the stuff grows. Full sun, full light. Once again, the soil is kind of organic, so the plants are not competing against heavy metals and contaminants. What they do at ground level. So here's an aerial view. It's pretty cool. Oh yeah, you can see it pretty good. So this was before. So our roof was black. We put a white roof on it, and then eventually this is what we introduced, all these different systems. Now the reason why we have so many different systems is like 4 or 5 different weights. Also we have 4 or 5 different growth mediums, and then we have 4 or 5 different plant lives. So like either sedum, natives, different types of sedums, woody natives, flowering natives. So we have all different types of plant life up there. So that's why you have this variety. This system was in Silver Cup Studios years ago. So they're big trays. They're 4x4 by 6-inch trays. Silver Cup Studio had some issues with the green roof when they installed it. They called us up. They said, listen, if we bring it down to ground level, can you guys take it and use it? So we did. So we took it and we installed it in this whole U section here. It's 6 inches of mineral soil with native plants. There's some more pictures. So a big factor, I don't know how my time is, but good. A big factor is installing green roofs. The green roofs that the lightest system we have is 10 pounds, 12 pounds per square foot. The heaviest system is 35 pounds per square foot. But just think for a second. When this roof had rubble on it, which it did, river wash stone, that river wash stone is 25 pounds per square foot. So we remove that. So you can, your engineers have to factor that in. Also, if you've seen many times the concrete pavers that are on roofs, those are 100 pounds per paver, 25 pounds per square foot. So, you know, once you remove that, you really can easily put a 25 pound per square foot system in, which is like 80% of our systems. So you're going to hear about extensive and intensive. We're kind of beyond that. So you basically, there's lightweight systems that are 3 to 6 inches that are super lightweight, and then there's systems that are like 6 inches or more that are a little more intense. So you can basically plant different types of native plants that are a little that roots get a little more established. You kind of want to stick with sedum, with natives, and if you want to have a farm, you can have a farm, but a farm is a lot of work. But you don't want to plant anything else besides sedum and natives, because then you're going to have to start doing maintenance up there. When I first started, I don't have a horticulture background, so when I first started, I put annuals up there. Oh my God, that was it, man. They called the commissioner on me, and I got a call from the commissioner, and I had to get a whole education about annuals. So I never did that again, but you don't want to put annuals up there. You don't want to put annuals. Don't ever put annuals up there. So there's quite a few different types of systems. Like I said, there's monolithic systems, which you pour out the growth medium monolithically and you can plant. Or there's modular systems, which are cool. So you can call these companies up. They'll grow these 2-foot by 2-foot modular systems in their farms. Ideal conditions, it comes to you fully grown, fully vegetated. Drop it down in place. You don't have to do any work, no weeding. It's pretty cool products. So once again, you want to kind of have natives. And if you give it some TLC, we got quite a few landscape architects that work with us over there. They love to play with natives up there. They love to experiment with natives. And you can really get your bang for your buck with native plants on a green roof. You know, I really don't want to insult ground level gardeners, but rooftop natives are night and day compared to the ground level conditions. Unless, like we do parks, we do a lot of work. Unless you want to go into a park and you're able to pull out 2 feet of dirt and put 2 feet back of like an organic mix, you know, then you can say, all right, I got an organic soil, those natives are going to grow like crazy. I don't think we really have that luxury in the city to do that. So we're kind of competing with soils that are a challenge. So like I said, the big thing is roof protection. You want to kind of have a new roof. You want to kind of white roof it before. White roof coatings now are like, it's just like installing a roof. They got a 5-year warranty. They have different types, rubberized. It's like a paint and it's really strong. We also, there's quite a few drain details too that you got to take in consideration. We kind of made these ourselves because we do run a shop, so we were able to do our own modified drain covers. So what's cool about when we say it's reduced maintenance, so you have a roof that has no green roof on it. When the leaves fall in there, you don't go up there and take the leaves out. What's going to happen is they're going to blow up against the roof drains. And if you don't touch it for a couple of years, it's going to cake itself around the roof drains and prevent the water from going down the roof drains. And that water is going to fill up on the roof and deteriorate the roof at a rapid pace. If you have a green roof, when those leaves fall on the roof, they don't even make it to the roof drains. They literally fall on the roof and decompose right there. And we've seen it with our own eyes. So what we do is we just stay back from the roof drains by a couple of feet, and you literally see the same roofs that we had to go to and shovel off feet of dirt and decomposed leaves. You don't have to do that anymore because it literally decomposes right there into the green roof. So it's actually less work to go up there and take care of it. Makes the facility stronger. It stops the roof from deteriorating. So like I said again, I don't know what we're protecting the roof. You're protecting the waterproof membrane. You definitely get 1, 2, 3 times the life out of the existing roof, which is great. And then if you guys are doing new construction, not that I recommend it, but you don't have to necessarily get a roof that's got a 30 or 40-year warranty. You can get a roof that's got a 20-year warranty, put a green roof on it, and save an enormous amount of money. That's in new construction. So you should think about that. And I did discuss maintenance. Maintenance is a lot easier. You have to go on a regular roof before a big storm, after a big storm, and 4 or 5 times a year to check your drains. You don't have to do that many times with the green roof, so which is great. All right, any questions? I got a little time.
We got about 10 minutes for questions, so.
Yeah.
I was curious, do you guys ever combine solar panels and green roofs?
Sure, yeah. So
How does that work?
come to our roof. Come to our roof. So what we did is solar panels is once you get the temperature above 90 degrees adjacent to a solar system, it drops off tremendously, the efficiency of the solar. So a green roof adjacent to a solar system actually increases the efficiency of it. So what we did is we pushed the envelope a little. So we have some surface-mounted solar that maybe you've seen it before, where you have solar with Kindorf and you see cinder blocks on the solar or pieces of concrete. We eliminated that concrete and we got bags of growth medium with green roof and used that to ballast the solar. So we didn't file it yet, but we're in the process of filing it, and we didn't get any strong objections from DOB. So it's basically a green roof ballasted solar system. It's pretty cool.
Do you ever install the plants under the solar panels?
Yeah, well, it's just cool. You don't want to put natives. You don't want to put natives adjacent to the solar because they're just going to block the solar efficiency. But if you do come to our roof, you'll see. For some reason, the sedum likes to be get a lot of indirect light for some reason, and the sedum flourishes underneath the solar, which we've seen with our own eyes. Yep.
When's the best time to come and visit?
Anytime, spring, summer, fall.
Okay.
Yep.
Have you ever encountered wind uplift issues?
Nah, you don't, because it's kind of designed, it's like ground level. Whatever's happening up there, you have the same conditions at ground level. So the plants will grow. It is a lightweight growth medium, but it's not super lightweight. So the Gaia system, which is an expanded styrofoam, is very difficult. Even like a day like today, you'd have a little challenge. So what you'd have to do is as soon as you install the styrofoam, you put down like a hemp mesh. This way it doesn't blow all over. Yeah.
How much use does a solar panel get? Like, if it's on the roof, do you connect it to outlets below inside the building? Or?
Sure. So reach out to us. Our building's designed for 400 kilowatts. Our building, my building. We use about 150 kilowatts normally. The 4 solar arrays we have at our building produce 70 kilowatts. So we got half of our juice from our building coming from the solar system. Now what we're going to do is, like, what you want to do is, first you need to lower the usage of the building. So if you get everybody to be a little more efficient, you can get that 150 down to 100. Once you get it at 100, you can design your solar system to give you 100. So basically you're off the grid. So we're doing 70, we plan to do 150. But reach out to us, we'll show you, we'll tell you, teach you to reach out to us, we'll walk you through, we'll show you. We did it ourselves. We literally did it ourselves. We bought the solar panels ourselves because we didn't want to deal with the bureaucracy of the city. We installed it ourselves because we didn't want to deal with the bureaucracy of the city. And we got it done ourselves, 70 kilowatts in-house. Yeah.
When you're talking about the white roof, typically it was 20% more to put a really tough membrane on if you were putting a green roof directly on the building. Can
Yeah.
you address that, and what is this white roof?
Okay, so there's a lot of companies out there that sell this stuff. So what it is, if you got kind of an old roof, roofs that last 30 years, if you got a roof that's 20 years and you want to get more life out of it, let's say another 20, even though it's warranted for another 10, they sell these coatings, all different types of product, elastomeric, some guys got ceramic type coating, rubberized coating, and it's basically you just roll out this product on the roof, and it adheres to the roof, and it creates a thin layer, and they'll give you a 5-year warranty on it. So that's for an existing roof. You don't do that on a new roof. If you go to the city website on white roofs, it gives you a whole breakdown of white roofs. Yeah. Yeah.
I was wondering, besides the Vandal Silent green roof that you showed, did the city install any other green roofs on their buildings?
Yeah, so the federal government has one down at the lower west side with the post office. Barclay is a good example. The Javits Center is a good example. But the city's kind of a little slow with like DOE, DDC, EDC. They're kind of a little slow, but we could get you that information. They definitely, it's less than a dozen citywide. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about your need for irrigation, watering?
Yeah, so the installers kind of want you to have some type of watering the first couple of years till your green roof gets established. But if you buy pre-grown trays, you don't have to worry about that. So you kind of want to have the ability to water up there for the first couple of years. But at that point, once the natives and the sedums established, you can let them grow and they can handle bad summers, which we had quite a few bad summers the last couple of summers, and the natives and sedums came back. Yes? Anything else? Any other questions? Yeah.
You said expanded shale is a byproduct of concrete making, is that right?
Yeah, so there's lightweight concrete, obviously. There's lightweight concrete out there. It's got its applications. The aggregate in lightweight concrete is expanded shale, slate, and clay. So shale, slate, and clay is a byproduct that green roof people are using, and it's readily available. Any other questions?
We'll have a little panel discussion at the end as well. Let's thank Artie for his time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're a little ahead of schedule.
Great, great. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Scroll through Artie here. Chris, just give me 1 second to scroll through. I have to scroll through all theirs and then we'll. Yeah, man. Thank you. Can we back over? Alt-tab to get back over the other one, right? Oh, I went left. Okay, sorry. I went the wrong direction. That's why I couldn't make it work. Thank you very much, buddy.
Let's get this to right
There
there.
we go. Now we're good. You good now? Yeah. Okay. Sure. Come on. I'm going to humiliate you up here. It's easier. It's also a roast. You're unaware. Yeah, we're going to roast you a little bit. So. Nope. Sorry, did something come unplugged? Did I touch something? I think I touched something.
Does it show up on here?
Yes, it should. Great. And there's a clicker.
Perfect. The technology.
Gotta love the clicker.
All right, there you go.
Clicker good. Our next speaker today is Chris Brunner, who is co-founder of New York Green Roofs, a full-service green roof firm based in New York City, where he also serves as technical director and operations manager. Chris's firm focuses on commercial, residential, and institutional bid, build, and design build installations, maintenance, and consulting services. Since 2008, New York Green Roofs has been involved in the successful implementation of hundreds of green roofs around New York City and currently maintains nearly 500,000 square feet in the New York metro area, from setbacks reaching up to 30 stories in the Empire State Building to 6 acres of green roof on top of the Javits Convention Center. Chris and his firm have collaboratively designed, installed, and maintained some of the city's most iconic green roofs. And we are very pleased and honored to have Chris with us here today. About 35 minutes, then leave time for questions. I'll give you a heads up.
Okay, perfect. Great. It's really nice to be here today and in person, I gotta say. Been a few too many Zoom presentations over the last couple of years, so it's great to see everyone out here. I'm gonna talk to you today about opportunities, requirements, and incentives. It's not gonna be completely exhaustive, but I just wanna kind of fill in the landscape a little bit about what we see as potential out here based on what we have to do and what we can do. A little bit about our firm. Again, thanks for that nice intro, Charles. We are a consulting, bid build, design build, and maintenance firm. Construction and maintenance is primarily what we do. Our consulting efforts are really kind of come out of that practice. So we work with all kinds of different systems throughout the city, lots of different types of projects, lots of technical specifications. So I've worked with some of you in the room, even on things like that as well.
So sorry, can you stand behind the podium?
Oh yeah, you can't hear me back there? Okay. This feels way more official too, by the way. All right. Better? Okay, great. All right. Requirements that we're going to look at today, Local Law 9294, which already mentioned a bit about. We'll talk about the new DEP Unified Stormwater Rule. The general guidelines that are out there from NYC, FDNY requirements, and then also just a little touching on structural and waterproofing. Again, Artie gave us a great introduction to green roof technology. I'm going to just take that a little bit further with some of these. So, Local Law 9294. This is pretty new legislation. Came out in 2019. This is a project at 295 Fifth Avenue. That just went in last fall that was triggered by that law. Again, passed by the City Council 2019. It's a part of the Climate Mobilization Act. It mandates the installation of what we're calling a sustainable roofing zone, right? And that's for new construction. It's for any existing roof expansion, so if you're building on top of a roof. And if for roof replacements, that last one is a bit tricky. So it's not if you need to re-waterproof your roof, right? If you're just gonna have to put on new waterproofing, you don't trigger this law, right? If you're replacing the structural deck under that, that's when this law gets triggered, okay? So that's a distinction to be made because the language is a little bit tricky. So sustainable roofing zones are areas of the roof assembly where a solar voltaic electricity generating system, solar panels, right, can be installed, a green roof or a combination thereof, right? So you can have both. So sustainable roof zone, it's got to be continuous. It goes on 100% of the available roof space. This 200 square foot minimum and 100 square foot minimum for some cases, that got confused early on. I haven't seen it quite as confused recently, where the idea was, hey, we'll put 200 square feet of sustainable roof on our roof. That doesn't fit the law, right? You have to cover as much of the roof space as possible. There are exclusions, right? So any obstructed by rooftop structures, bulkheads, things like that. Fire access pathways, we'll talk about those in a minute. Mechanical equipment. If it's a recreational space, right? If you're gonna have an amenity space up there, pavers or things like that, if that's in the C of O, you're not required to put the green roof or the solar panels up there. It does have to go on setbacks, but if they're less than 25% of the full, I guess the full building plate, right? Or the floor plate of the largest part of that building, then you're exempt from that. If the roof is pitched, or if just it's deemed not a real unfavorable, like that word. If it's unfavorable for it, then you can get exempt on that as well. This is, you can find this on the web or email me. I can send you a copy of this. This is kind of the little flow chart on how to get through that, so you can sort of see where do we go. One thing that's important to note about 92, 94 as it relates to green roofs is, again, solar panels can be used instead of that, right? So as a green roofer, that can make green roof installations on these projects not particularly easy. Solar panels can be done at a less expense, right? You could lease them. You could pay nothing to get solar panels on your roof, and they can kick back a little money back into your pocket from an electricity standpoint. So this is still fantastic legislation, but again, there are ways to avoid having to use it to put a green roof on your building. NYC's DEP, so the Unified Stormwater Rule. This is a new rule. This is a shot of the Javits Center. That's about a 300,000 square foot green roof. Soaks up, it's very shallow, but we still get about a 7 million gallon annual stormwater reduction on a project like that, really just based on scale. Doesn't have anything to do with the DEP stormwater rule. I just put it up there because it's a pretty picture and nice illustration. Again, this is a new rule as of February 2022. Some of the things that changed, so they added combined sewer systems at this point. Before that, it was just MS4 projects. That's like stormwater going through municipal drains, things like that at ground level. This combined sewer systems are dealing with drains on rooftops and things like that that go into the combined sewer overflow. 20,000 square feet or more of soil disruption, or 5,000 square feet of new impervious space. So what changed from the original rule was that threshold of soil disturbance used to be 1 acre. Now it's down to 20,000 square feet. That's a major change right there. And then also we've added this 5,000 square feet or more of new impervious surface. You see on the diagram over there on the right, what they really also went for was a marriage of how do we deal with stormwater reduction and stormwater quantity release, and do that with green infrastructure as well, right? So stormwater manual, you can access that on the line. This is a little diagrammatic. So they have 3 tiers of what they'd like to see happen. For all projects, green roofs are one of the tier 1 SMPs that are available. And again, the idea here is it's not just retaining water, but it's doing it not just with a blue roof or a cistern or something like that, but it's actually utilizing vegetation for that purpose. So, you know, one of the exciting things about this kind of legislation is it does put green roofs in their own separate playing field where, with other strategies, it really gives us a kind of a lot to work with new construction in particular. So what does the city say? What does DOB say? What are our guidelines and criteria for building green roofs within the building code? It's not much. It's a little tiny bit, okay? It's probably hard to read, but really, the design standards for green roof systems need to comply with ANSI SPRI RP14 and the ANSI SPRI VF1 guidelines. Those are wind and fire guidelines. That's about it, right? There are some exemptions, right, that don't have to apply for that. If the building is less than 22 feet, it doesn't apply. If the area is less than 250 square feet, does not apply. And if the green roof system isn't actually a container garden and not a green roof, essentially, at that point. So just to take a quick look at those, you know, wind design, it is important, right? You're putting material on a rooftop, your wind loads, every 10 feet, every foot you go up, you know, wind loads change. New York City is actually in a hurricane zone, so we do get lots of high wind forces. This is a project on the 17th floor in Midtown. Lots of buildings around that. You end up with all kinds of strange little wind tunnels, things like that. So wind's important. You can download this design guide and go through it, but it walks you through essentially what's your building height, what's your parapet height, Where's your location in the world that you're doing this? What are the different ballast weights that you have to deal with? And then it kind of gives you a key to where you go. Interesting to note, if you're more than 150 feet up, then these guidelines do not apply. You have to use a registered engineer to do the wind study for you, right? So they don't go beyond that. So if you have a project that's higher than that, you have wind design requirements that are more than something you can just access online. The fire code, or the fire design standard, if you will. So this sets up general things like growing media composition. There's a few growing media suppliers out here, including Charles. So the growing media is built so that it doesn't burn, right? It's not combustible. The plants, what kind of plants are you using can be acceptable for that. The actual size of the green roof, this dictates about a 15,000 square foot green roof area that beyond that needs to have breaks in it, right? So a 6-foot break with pavers or something like that. So again, all this information that kind of comes into figuring out, okay, what can we do? How do we do it as we're in the design process? NYC Fire Code. What I think is interesting about this is that if you look at it, it says access landings and clear paths that are required on rooftops, those can be landscaped, right? You can put a green roof on it as long as it meets certain criteria. It has to be compacted. Essentially, it has to be shallow, follow the slope of the roof. You can't have lots of big berms and things like that. And then the vegetation in those areas should not exceed 12 inches, right? Kind of an interesting contrast to local law 9294, which actually carves out that you don't have to put a green roof in those zones. So I think there's opportunity there where we could kind of even get more into it. This is just this is a Vital Climbing Gym in Williamsburg. This was sort of part of the design process, but you can see some of those access landings and the clear paths through the landscape in this area. Let's see how we're doing. Structural requirements. This is your first question, right? It's not even listed in the design guidelines or any of that kind of stuff, but this is number one. Before you begin thinking about designing a green roof, can I have one, any of that kind of stuff, you have to know how much weight you can put on your roof, right? If you do not, maybe you have 10 pounds, maybe you have no pounds. If you have no pounds, you can't put a green roof up there. It's as simple as that. If you're building a new roof, you've got a lot of options there. So maybe you can make the structure much heavier and do what you want. You also have to think about it at time of installation. If you're putting a 2,500-pound pallet of growing media on the roof, can that get landed on the roof, or does that need to be broken down before it goes up there? So again, most important part about a roof is that it keeps you dry and it doesn't cave in. So we don't want green roofs doing either of those things. Your waterproofing requirements. So it is possible to retrofit an existing waterproofing system. Personally, I wouldn't recommend it beyond about a 7-year age limit. But at any point in time in that, you're going to want to talk to the waterproofing manufacturer. You're going to want to find out what's compatible. But the questions that you're looking at are what kind of a system is it? Anything that's asphalt-based, modified bitumen, something like that, is going to require root protection, as already mentioned earlier. There are membranes that are root-proof that can be utilized. But it's really, what is that waterproofing? Are you going to need non-vegetated zones, things like that? Is it a conventional system, meaning the insulation is below it and it's waterproof there? Or is it an inverted system where you have insulation above that? If you have an inverted system like that, you've got 6 inches of insulation now as the code. If that's sitting on top of your roof and you're using your green roof to ballast it, you got to make sure your green roof weighs enough to take care of that. So again, there's a lot of nuance that goes into how these get designed, sort of what the parameters are, but that's the general sort of landscape, if you will, for what's possible. So that gives us a little bit on what the requirements are, what the guidelines, what the design ideas are and what we work with. I want to look at incentives a little bit. And my list of incentives is, some of them are monetary, some of them are personal, and some of them are public, really. So we'll take a look at the property tax abatement, briefly talk about public relations and property value, and then we'll go into the green infrastructure grant and community value as well. So NYC has a pretty nice property tax abatement that's available. This is a project, this was one of the first projects to receive that, the original grant. This is Eckendorf Towers, right above Beth Israel Medical Center in Union Square. It's not accessible to the tenants. All the tenants live in these towers. There's 4 towers around it. But they do interact with it on a daily basis. This is how they get to elevators that go up to their floors and things like that. So what to know about the tax abatement? Right now it's up to, it was recently raised a year or 2 ago, I think. It's now at $5.23 per square foot, right? Citywide across the board. You've got to cover 50% of your roof. So if you have a 10,000 square foot roof, you need to cover 5,000 square feet. Again, there are some exemptions in terms of, areas, mechanical areas, things like that that do not need to be covered. And then when you apply for it, it's got a 80%, you need to have 80% coverage of live plants. Can't be astroturf or anything like that. Now, there are, so important to note, it's a one-time tax abatement. You can only take it once. There are enhanced tax abatement areas. So there are zones, and I had a slide, but it didn't make it into this show. But there are actually priority zones within the city right now, right, which are eligible for $15 per square foot property tax abatement. It's a large swath of North Brooklyn and South Bronx. If you email me, I can send you that slide or information on where to look at it. But $15 a square foot can mean quite a lot, right? If you have a large building, that could cover the majority cost of your installation at that point. Even $5, if you have a 10,000 square foot project, and let's say your costs are $15 to $20 to install that, $5, we're at 25%. That's pretty significant. If you're $15 and your cost was $15 to install it, then we're right on par. You're covering a lot of your costs at that point. Some of the problems with it is it really works for scale, right? Because if you have a 1,000 square foot project that's costing you $50 a square foot, well, $5 a square foot maybe is not necessarily as valuable to you. But again, this is out there. I believe it sunsets in 2024, so we'll see if they re-up it. But it's good to know. Public relations. So again, this is kind of a client-based or sort of incentive, if you will. Javits, when they installed the green roof, it was really done as an environmental project, and also because it's kind of about the same cost as the pavers that were going to go in. So it was a bit of a visionary project on that end. I think if you talk to Javits right now about what's valuable about this, it is the story that it tells, right? It means a lot to that, to the organization. You got people making Lego sculptures of the building, and that green roof's a big component of it. So again, for certain clients, this could be a big incentive. Nice PR piece, good way to talk about, what they're trying to do. Property value is another big one, right? In New York City right now, I think the number is roughly 0.1% of our rooftop space is being utilized with green roofs. That's a lot of opportunity out there. I think the pandemic really illustrated the point that people want to be able to get outside. They want space to be able to get out of their own apartments or buildings, things like that, even workspaces. So there's a lot of opportunity to put in amenity space and to really increase the property value. Going from it's kind of a desolate rooftop that's not being utilized. I'll just bounce back really quick to that. Before the plants went in there, that was just a gray asphalt roof that you looked out on every day you came in or out of your building. So there's certainly a lot of opportunity there. DEP's Green Infrastructure Grant. It's kind of an opportunity. It's not really an incentive, but there's money on the table. Okay, so I wanted to bring this up. This project in the background is a rendering of Admiral's Row at the Brooklyn Navy Yard, which we helped secure funding for that. Here's another project at Lenox Hill Neighborhood Houses. Two vastly different projects, but again, they both got funded by the DEP. This is quite a lot of money that's available for these. So again, you can go on their website. They have this right on the front page. But it's all based on size of the project. At this point, they have to be 5,000 square feet. When Lenox Hill went in, that rule wasn't there, so it's a smaller project. But it's got to be a 5,000 square foot minimum. Above 20,000 square feet, the grant goes down on a sliding scale. It kind of hits 50% of what it was before. But you can do the math. You know, a 50,000 square foot green roof that's 4 inches deep could qualify for $1 million in grant funding. So there's a lot of money out there for these kind of projects. Takes a while to get it, right? It's not necessarily easy going through DEP for it. You do have to sign a contract, essentially, for 20 years saying that you'll keep what's now become a city asset, right? It's now become a stormwater asset. You're going to keep that functioning for the next 20 years, or you're going to give the money back. So, you know, it's not for everyone, but it's a possibility, and I think it's pretty strong. And really, I think one incentive that can't be overlooked is the community value, and it's not just community for a place for people to go out and hang out and have a drink on Friday, or see a pretty landscape when they walk through their building. But as a city as a whole, green infrastructure, right, plants on our buildings will change the livable quality of where we live. So it's not something, I didn't say may make New York City more livable. This will do it, right? We can use the plants here, kind of like Artie said, and bring the forest back, if you will. So now let's look at some opportunities. So native and adaptive green roofs are one. I'm going to look at some comparisons of other green roof technologies. Integrations with other technologies. Somebody asked earlier about solar panels. Absolutely. Solar panels, blue roofs, there's a lot of things we can do up there with that. And then also, again, engaging rooftop spaces. This is an event for landscape architects. So you all are some of the folks who get to have the first opportunity to say, hey, what can we do with this space? Somebody comes at you and says, hey, I got to put 5,000 square feet of green roof on here. I triggered this stormwater rule. What can we do, right? You have a lot of opportunity, and I think you all are the ones who really get the question first. So the idea here is to kind of arm you with some, again, it's not exhaustive. There's a lot of things that we can talk about, but these are a few. So to start with, sedum green roofs, they're fantastic. And this is the Bronx County Courthouse up at 851 Grand Concourse. Sedum's a great plant, right? It's for green roofs. They're fantastic. They grow in real shallow soils. They don't require a lot of maintenance. Very hardy. They're beautiful. We get lots of flowers. We do see quite a bit of, it's green space on a roof, right? This PS41 in the West Village. Where's Vicky? There's Vicky, right? Vicky made that roof happen. And so, there's nothing wrong with the sedum green roof, right? Jacob Javits Center, it's 300,000 square feet of this stuff, 7 million gallons of stormwater annually. It's now being considered a wildlife or a bird sanctuary, right? There's 40 or 50 species of birds they're finding are migrating and accessing that rooftop, all kinds of microorganisms. Again, in a very shallow, this is about 1.5 inches of growing media, very, kind of hardy, simple plants. They're not native to this area, but they're adaptive. But sedums are not the only option for your extensive green roofs. I think Marnie's going to talk a lot more about the opportunities we have on these kind of projects. But you know, you can get in shallow soils. We've got them as low as 4 inches. You can get perennial grasses and some natives growing. Sometimes they have other requirements, right? They might need irrigation. We want to see them cut back in the springtime, right? You want to remove that biomass so that you're not changing the composition of your media. This is a project out east. This was established from seed, right? So for a fraction of the cost of what it would have taken to even just do sedum plugs or sedum mats on this roof, we got that kind of landscape. Has a higher maintenance load, especially at the beginning, just to make sure things are working right. But I think that equalizes over time, and you get a lot of different ecosystem services out of dynamic plantings like this that you may not out of sedum. So that's an option. Brooklyn Botanic Garden. Again, all these roofs are 6 inches or less in growing media, so they're not particularly deep. Anybody miss winter? I miss winter. So I put that up there just for anybody who wanted to see some snow, because we haven't seen it yet. A little bit. So solar integrated green roofs. Yes, you can. And the reality is, yes, you should. Again, like I already mentioned, the plants themselves, the green roof is going to keep the ambient temperature around the solar panels much cooler. That's going to increase your efficiency, right? Here's a project at the Javits. They just put this in last year. These are panels over all the air handling units, right? So they're not only keeping those air handling units shaded, which they were already cooler because of the green roof, but the solar panels are working at a cooler rate as well. So we get greater efficiency on the solar. We've got microclimates for flora and fauna. Again, the plants grow a little different with the shade. I didn't have a slide of it up here, but as already mentioned, one great way to do this is ballasting the solar racking with the green roof itself. There's a number of products out there where you can actually plant that green roof underneath your solar panels and use that as a way to ballast the racking without penetrating your roof or any of that. Blue-green roofs. This is a project in Amsterdam by a company called Waven. I didn't build this, so I don't have anything to do with it, but I think it's phenomenal. So there's water under that entire roof. The ponds, those ponds are there for interest. They fill up with rainwater. They also have the ability to add water to it, so if they want them to be full. But the water that's held under it from storm events can be used for irrigation. It's pretty phenomenal. There's a number of different ways to do it. There's quite a few companies and technologies that do it. The one that I kind of want to show you is basically a platform that goes on the roof membrane, right, and just vaults. You get a void space right here. And then on top of that void space, you can go with plants, pavers, decking, any number of strategies from there. The drains could be simply have weirs on them that just allow a certain amount of water to fill up and then trickle out slowly, or they could be very highly technical and be controlled via computer. You can use that water to irrigate your landscape, flush your toilets, irrigate a different landscape, irrigate the green roof. There's a lot of potential for what can be done. And again, in New York, we're talking a lot about stormwater, right? Stormwater is one of the big drivers for that green infrastructure grant. It's a big driver for the property tax abatement, for a lot that we do. And this technology right here, I think, has a great potential for just enhancing what we can do with it. Amenity spaces, this is kind of the last place I'll leave you with, but when we talk about amenity space, what I mean by that is just essentially green roofs that people can go out into and enjoy. So this is a project at 850 3rd Avenue. You can see obviously the variation between the setbacks below and the one above it. This was a H.M. White project. And that's the difference between the inside of that office versus, say one of those office buildings below it. This is Macy's at 422 Fulton. We worked with Sam back here on that one. Beautiful project. Again, incorporates some lawn. It's got pavers, place for people to walk around. Really wonderful, diverse planting on that. We call this our infinity roof. This is a private residence on Fifth Avenue. It's a P. Rudolph design planting. Again, you can just see a lot of different textures, a lot of ways to engage with the space. Again, we're still bringing in all the benefits that Artie mentioned earlier, but doing it in a way that people can interact with it as well. Real big showcase piece right here down in Tribeca. We got, again, multiple elements of different types of green roofing. A hot tub, if you can, you should. A little more of the lower level of that. Spence School, this was Nelson Bergholz. This is the Eco Lab, so we have a school here, lots of different diverse plantings, place for the kids to go out, work on the rooftop, and learn about it. Condo in Williamsburg. Again, just lots of ways that you can incorporate the technology. This is over the parking garage. So, rather than just being a bunch of pavers out there and maybe a chair or two, you've got ways to interact with nature. 1 Hudson Square, this is down in the lower. I brought this one up as the last one because none of these projects are a blue roof project per se, but they could be. So you can look at that and go, that whole thing could be sucking up mass amounts of water and holding on to it right now, along with keeping a pretty fantastic landscape alive. So again, I think there's a lot of opportunity for everyone in the room here to think about how you can incorporate these technologies, what you can do, and I look forward to seeing what you guys do. Thanks. Cutting it close. Do we got any time?
We have about 10 minutes for questions if we
Okay.
want to go right ahead.
Yeah.
No one has talked about slope, the Javits Center types of clapping, and
Yeah.
underneath it's not. Can you please talk about that?
Yeah, sloped green roofs. Sure. You can go up to probably about 40, 45 degrees before you start becoming a wall at that point, but really it's about engineering at that point and about how you're actually stabilizing that growth media and those plantings. So there's a number of solutions for that. I'd be happy to talk with you about more of those and just show you some examples of what those are. But you're essentially either holding the weight, the entire weight of that green roof, which wants to slide off the roof. You're gonna have to hold that either from some structure at the top, or you're gonna hold it at the eave. So you're just gonna keep this in place, right? It's gonna change your, stormwater and things like that are gonna change at that point because now you're sloped, so all the water wants to get off the roof. So typically irrigation becomes important, things like that.
Are you floating on top to make it straight like Javits? Is it floated on top, or is it varying for the depth?
Yeah, so it looks flat, but it actually follows the pitch of the roof. And that's how I would recommend most extensive projects go. Your roofs, you could have a dead level roof that does exist, but most roofs have at least a slight pitch to drain. At that point, you're gonna want your green roof to follow that as well. There's a couple of reasons there. One is it keeps a consistent weight across the board or a consistent planting depth, but also when the green roof is fully saturated, right, when your system is just wet, water's not going through it to the bottom. If you have one of these major storm events like we get in the city, it's gonna run right over the top. So you still want that pitch to those drains to happen, even if it's very tiny, even if it's a 1/4 or something like that. Yeah. Yeah. Liz? Yeah.
Have you found any really beautiful solar panels, or are there any?
Beautiful solar. I thought they're all beautiful, Maybe like designs on them and stuff or anything? I don't know. What do you mean? Yeah.
Maybe the posts haven't been developed enough.
Yeah.
They feel like appendages on buildings right
Sure.
now, and I think there's
Yeah.
an opportunity there.
I think so for sure. Yeah. I mean, the racking that you saw at the Javits Center, that was all custom. That doesn't exist other than what they did there. I mean, maybe it does now, but so there's probably a lot of opportunity for custom kind of racking systems. But in general, I think it's really thought of as a utilitarian, thing. So, but there are, if you look at, if you just Google solar ballasted or green roof ballasted solar, you'll see some examples of different types of projects that are actually on the market. But yeah, they're all kind of utilitarian based, I think. Yet to be done.
I want to go back to the slanted
Mm-hmm.
or possibly even green walls.
Yeah.
Barclay Center comes to mind with the Eden on that.
Sure. You're right at the
Not doing stove arrays
yeah,
with the end.
at the subway station right there.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Next
So
irrigation.
yeah, so that one, I'd have to go back to the drawings a little bit on that one, but it's very steep, right? It's
Yeah.
pushing the boundaries of
Yes.
what can be done with that product. That was a Hydrotech system. The little you can go and you can actually see what they use to retain the soil because it's visible because the plants haven't quite hung on to it.
Right.
They call it the garden net system. It's this kind of waffle that sort of opens up and holds the material. In some cases, that's maintenance as well. So it might just take a really high maintenance load to be able to keep the plants in place to grow on that. But that's a challenge with steep green roofs. Yeah. Yeah, right up here on the front.
For the blue roofs, when it takes in water, later on, what happens to that water?
Yeah, good question. So it can. You've got options, right? So there are mechanical systems that just hold X amount of water on the roof at the drain, and then they slowly let that water come out over time. So it is not retained on the roof, it's detained, it's just held there for a while till the rest of the sewer system in general can kind of recalibrate itself, so it just lets it out slowly. You could have a situation where you just detained it on the roof indefinitely, but the problem with rooftops on that is if you get more water, it's got to go somewhere. So eventually it's going to overflow and go out. The electronically computer-based systems that kind of deal with it, they're sort of a hybrid of that. So you can decide what to do with it. You can hold it, you can send it over here, you can let it out slowly. If you need to let it out quickly, you can do that. So, yeah. Does that answer your question? Okay. Yeah.
Do you need to meet different requirements for the blue green roof rather than the normal one?
For the blue-green roof versus a regular green roof, that's a really good question. Your biggest question when it comes to the blue roofs is going to be your structural capacity, right? Because water's heavy in that regard, and also your waterproofing, right? You're essentially creating a pool up there on the roof, so it has to be able to handle static water hanging out up there. So I think it's a design guideline right now, but I don't know. Maybe somebody else here in the room knows. I don't know that the city's caught up and has any kind of requirements about what they want to see with blue roofs at this point. Yeah.
I have a question. For the blue green roof, with that water, can we use it with gray water?
I believe yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what you may have coming from the city is that you in various municipalities is how you can use the water, how you have to treat it, and then where it goes from there. So, yeah. Yep.
If you're interested in seeing architect design solar pergolas, I can show you, okay? And
Perfect.
so
That's great.
Okay, I'm really glad.
Great.
Anyone in the back or anything in the way back there? Anyone? All right, well, thank you very
Okay.
much. Thank you very much, Chris.
Thank you.
We'll be taking a break till about 2:30, and then we'll bring up our next speakers. Thank you, everyone.